ultra quick zip insertion today. I'm just going to demonstrate how I put a concealed zip in. So on my fabric pieces, I'm putting wrong sides together and I'm going to sew a 1/2 inch seam where I'm going to put my zip, and I'm using a long stitch. I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end, but in the middle I want a nice long stitch because I'm going to be unpicking this after. So nice long stitch all the way to the end, chain off. Oh, wouldn't you just know we've run out of thread halfway through, for God's sake. Take two. So I've threaded the top thread with the bright blue just to help you see. So I'm not going to restitch that because I'm going to unpick these stitches at the end anyway. So watch what I'm doing. Again, just a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch hem. I get to the end, I go back and I go forward. And then I lift my needle up, pull out the fabric and snip. Okay. Don't pull too tight on these threads because sometimes they spring back and unthread. So there you can see I have the seam. So next thing I'm going to do is open out this seam and make it lie really flat. So you can, usually I use something like my scissors to just make that fabric behave itself and lie flat. So you can also get a burnishing tool, or you can simply iron it, which is normally what I do, but I don't want to switch my iron. This is literally a 5-minute video. So you just want to make sure that seam, open seam, now lies flat. Okay, and that is the seam where our zip's going to go. So the first thing I do is pin the end down, and I pin so that the teeth of the zip are right in that seam there. So I'm going to pin across the zip. Can you see that? I'm going to pin across the zip there. So then going all the way down, checking that the center of the teeth where they meet is in the middle of that seam. I'm going to pin all the way down, and I'm pinning across, and I'll tell you why in a minute. You'll see why. I'm pinning across the zip like that. Okay, making sure that the zip again lies flat in the ditch. It's not really a ditch, but you know what I mean. In between where the two fabrics meet is where we're sewing. So pin across all the way down, and I've just got a little bit to do. Okay, so my next step, because the zip's all pinned down now, I'm going to start, I'm not going to use a zipper foot because I want this to be quite a nice opening for the zip. It doesn't need to be tight, it doesn't need to be closed well. So I'm going to start halfway down the zip, and I'm just going to sew again. I'm going to do it in a big stitch. Hopefully you can see now, because I've put my pins in across, I can actually sew over them, albeit carefully, but if I go across them, nothing happens. What happens is the needle will go in on either side of the pin. It won't go through it. But if you're trying to sew down it, obviously it bends the needle and snaps it. Whereas this way, it goes over the pins without any problem. So when I get to the end, I'm going to swivel with the needle down, and I'm just going to turn 45 degrees and stitch across the zip. Now you can stitch further down the zip. You don't have to go past the end like I've done on this one. It doesn't really matter. So when you get maybe 2 stitches past the zip, we're going to lift the foot, the presser foot again, turn it around 45 degrees and push it down again. Now, if you want to, you can take the pins out. This time, keeping close to that edge, that I'm using that as a guide for the zipper, for the foot really. I do have a zipper foot, I just want to keep this really simple. This kind of zip will work nicely in skirts, as long as it's a back seam, pillowcases, cushions, anything. So let's keep going, keep going, keep going. Now you can see there's a bit of fullness on that zip. So I'm going to take that pin out. I'm going to make sure I'm lined up, which I am. Hold it down, keep going as far as I can. And then I'm going to stop, get close to this zipper catch now. So this is what I need to do. I need to lift the presser foot up, pull the zipper past carefully. Now that means the zipper will lie flat. So pop down, a little bit further down. Again, we're going to put the needle right down to its lowest position, lift up the presser foot and turn 45 degrees. Now, you want this zip to be perfectly in line with the other half. So put your foot down, match them up nicely, do a few stitches across, needle down to its lowest position, press the foot up, swivel, and now we can go down the other side of our zip. So I'm going to do an inch, little inch, stop, put my needle down, lift my presser foot up. That keeps the fabric in its correct position. So I'm going to go back up there with my zipper, and I'm going to put the presser foot back down. If I didn't do that, my stitches would wave out around this bulky zipper. So back down to the start. I'm happy with that. So lift the needle up to its highest position, lift your presser foot up, pull towards the back of the machine, and on most machines there's something that helps you snap those threads without pulling unduly. So that's the back of the zip there, and the front of the zip is neatly in there. I don't know if you can see that clearly enough. So the next stage, I'm just putting it on under the foot for now, is to use a seam ripper and start to unpick the stitches in the middle of the seam. And because I've used a bigger stitch, it allows me to see quite easily where those stitches are. So we're just going to pick all the way down to the bottom and to the top, wherever you want that zip to be exposed. So I'm working my way down to the top now. I don't know if you can see properly, but I'm just using every 4th stitch, the seam ripper, to open that up. And there, I've exposed the end of the zip. Last stitch, let's just pull that down. So that's there. You need to take away all the threads from either side of the zip. And if you don't do that, they'll get tangled up in the zip and you will end up with a broken zip. Okay. Now, if I'd pressed that, that would be absolutely flat, especially if I put a bit of steam. You can see there's a slight wave there. The fabric wants shrinking back again. And a hot steam iron will do that. But for this purpose, which is literally just to put the most simple, quick way to put a zip in. Okay, I'll show you what I'm going to do with this fabric after on a different video, because then I'm going to line, which this is going to be like a little zippy makeup bag or something like that. So I'm going to line the bag, but that will be the next tutorial, how to add a lining onto the zip. So you can see I'm going straight down to the bottom to there. I'm going to unpick to there. I think I'm going to leave about 1 inch. That just means that the zip end is not going to be exposed to any undue stress. So there goes in. The zipper opening is 7 centimetres, so I want the zipper end to be 7 centimetres as well. So 2 about there. So I'll just put a pin in to mark that spot. It's literally just 2 more stitches and then open. That's it. Jobs are good. Take out all these little fluffy bits at the end. You don't want anything snagging in these zippers, because that's game over. Then it's put a new zip in. Nobody wants to do that when you've gone to all that trouble. So snip and get rid of them all, especially these. And that's the best, that's the easy way to do a zip. It's, like I say, great in cushions and all sorts of other things. It's very simple, it's not glamorous. I'll put the iron on and give it a press and let you see exactly how the steam from the iron will make that all lie flat. Actually, it looks like they had a thread tension issue there, but don't worry about that. You won't have that problem, because I've put a really thick thread in the top, which is more like a top thread than a seam thread. There is a difference. I've sewn for such a long time. I can't remember when I started sewing, when I was maybe 13, 14. It's been something that I've always enjoyed. So I don't have any formal qualifications in sewing. I taught myself. I learned how to make wedding dresses, ball gowns, corsets, curtains, cushions. See if my iron's hot enough. Right, okay. Just give that a quick press and then I'll come back. Nice flat zip. That's actually quite discreet as well. It's hidden. Okay. So the idea is that each of these creases hides the zipper teeth. So when it's zipped up, it can't be seen. It closes flat. Okay.